Hello and welcome to Membradal. This is a video about how we should perhaps look at relationships and what we get out of them and deal with them accordingly. A plant draws nutrients from its environment. It converts the energy it receives into a form that is useful to it, and many plants also give produce that is used by us. A small plant has so much power to convert a form of energy into a different form that is useful to itself and to the rest of us. However, sometimes the environment the plant is in is toxic, and it may end up absorbing some of those toxins within itself, and it makes its way into the produce. So what comes out of the plant could also be laced with a bit of those toxins. Not able to see where I'm going with this? Imagine yourself to be the plant. You are in the environment that you are in, surrounded by the people that you're surrounded with. You absorb or take the energy from that environment, and most importantly, from the people in that environment. And this you do knowingly or unknowingly. You then process this energy that you get from the environment and even give an output. You also make a produce, which could be your thoughts, your actions, or your emotions. But have you noticed that not all your thoughts and actions are helpful to you or to others? Have you thought why this may be so? A number of people have told me about how certain relationships, which they loosely term friendship, seems to have huge influence on them. In my view, personally, I wouldn't call certain relationships friendship. I think that's taking a step too far. They're probably nothing more than an acquaintance, but the influence that they have in one's life could be enormous. Now, let's not get judgmental about people. We're not saying certain people are bad or certain people are good, and this is good influence or bad influence. But there is no harm probing into the relationship that you share with certain people and understand what you give and get out of it. What you get out of the time that you spend with some people is something to ponder into. Many of these people in our lives, we choose to let them into our lives. So pondering into what value they bring in and take out is not a bad thing at all. It's not being judgmental, it's not being harsh. If you spend an evening with some people, they leave you charged up and energetic. They are a keeper. Have them in your life. Do keep in mind though, we are not talking about the sort of emotional high that you get from intoxication. This is far more higher than that. There are some people that leave you drained. It's almost like they've just sucked the energy out of you. And that is one of the signs that they may not be the people that you want to invest your time in. There are people who value us for who we are, and importantly, they encourage us to embrace ourselves, accept ourselves. Some, on the other hand, want us to be someone else that they want us to be. Spending time with them raises doubts in your mind, and not the good sort of doubts. You start questioning the person that you fundamentally are, and not in a good way again. They leave you with much less self-love than to start with. And then there are those confusing people who are very sweet, and with the sweetness itself, they tell you why you must think much low of yourself than you probably already do. They show so-called care and concern and the so-called compassion and shower you with reasons why you must dislike who you are. Like we saw earlier, it is important that relationships, especially friendship, embraces and fosters self-love and improves self-worth, not diminish your self-worth. If you are left behind questioning your self-worth, definite sign to question who you spend time with. Having things in common, like having children of the same age or hailing from the same place in the world, etc., These can only be conversation starters. They cannot be the glue that binds your relationship or your friendship. The most important binding force must be shared values between the people involved. If you do not share any values, then pursuing that relationship may not be such a good idea. Your real friends will not hesitate to point out your mistakes, but will not do it in a way that you fall out of love with yourself. Real friends, and even the potentially real ones, which are probably moving from an acquaintance stage to a friend state, they make you feel positive. They will be there, not just when you're happy, but sad too. They will give you feedback constructively, give you much needed energy boost, and they will leave you wanting to spend more time with them. Some people are hesitant to break away from the relationships that are just opposite of what we said now. It could be due to various reasons, like fear of being the bad one for walking off, or fear of losing your social circle, or fear that you're probably wrong about the other person and that the problem actually lies with you. Some people manage to manipulate you enough to think that you are the problem and not them. So you are extremely hesitant to break the relationship and you just keep it going while you pay the price for it. Remember though, we've been talking about others in your life, but it's not just applicable to others, it is equally applicable to you because you are the other person in someone else's life. So try and be the good person that you would like to have around yourself. Relationship is a two-way street, so it's not just about what you get, but it's also about what you give. And luckily, what you give is well within your control. We make choices in life, and who we allow into our lives is largely a choice that we make. I say largely because sometimes you may not be able to choose who your colleagues are, for example. Do not feel obliged to stick with what you have if they're not bringing you joy, the energy, and the support. You may want to share your love because you may be a person that loves to give, but you only have 24 hours in a day, and it is wise to think about who you spend that time with because you're not going to get it back. Make the choice. Be empowered.